Welcome back to part 3 of this fully detailed summary of Zero no Kiseki, or Trails from Zero. We'll be starting off with the last major mission of the Anniversary Festival, and we'll conclude the video about a third through Chapter 4. So with that said, let's start right where we left off. The SSS has just received an official invitation to the Schwarz Auction from Ren. Each of the 4 has their mind set on attending, even though Chief Sergei warned them not to involve themselves any further. After finishing up the support requests of the day, they head over to the dock at the waterfront district. It's not long until the next water bus to Mishalam arrives, since the rotations take place every 20 minutes during the Anniversary Festival. A super laid-back tourist approaches the 4 while they wait and asks them if this is the right way to Mishalam. He introduces himself as Lector Arundel, an Erebonian who has just arrived by the railway system. The redhead piques Lloyd's interest with some odd statements, but the arrival of the water bus cuts their conversation short. Both Ellie and Tio are surprised that a person who's even more laid back than Randy somehow exists, when a voice chimes in from behind them. Kilika asks them about the man they were just talking to, and upon hearing he's from the Empire, she draws some conclusions that fly right over the heads of the 4 cops. She boards the water bus, with Lloyd and the others following shortly after. The IBC has spared no expense in guaranteeing a luxurious ride to Mishalam. Since there's time to kill before their arrival, the 4 wander around the boat. Kilika sings praises of the spectacular performance she witnessed at the Arc-en-Ciel. Interestingly enough though, she's picked up on how Ilia Platier's aura is filled with life, while the Moon Princess Risha Mao's is filled with death. It's just her intuition, but she can't help but notice how the unique state of Crossbell has allowed them to unite on stage despite the opposing forces of their chi. This very Taoist concept is prominent not only in Eastern martial arts, but all philosophies stemming from the East. The SSS heads upstairs onto the deck where they find Lecter casually playing some tunes. Though they can't help but cringe at his incredibly carefree attitude, they acknowledge that his performance was quite good. Lecter's response is reminiscent of a certain bard's antics from the Sky Games. Ellie then asks him why he's really heading to Mishalam, and he straight up tells them he's here on behalf of Chancellor Gileath Osborne himself. Lloyd wonders how he can just share all this info straight to their faces, but the redhead responds that it doesn't matter if he does or doesn't, since the 4 will die here anyway. They slowly back away as he warns them that he has many subordinates aboard this boat right now, though he suddenly bursts out laughing after witnessing their completely serious reactions. Apparently, he couldn't resist pulling their legs after reading one too many spy novels on the way here. He actually has no ties to the Blood and Iron Chancellor, but he does admit that he's attending the auction. Lecter is going on behalf of his father, a noble from the Empire. However, Randy finds it hard to believe that the redhead is a noble, judging by his current getup. They continue the lighthearted banter and hope to meet again at the auction later at night. The water bus arrives at Mishalam, where the 4 quickly get right down to business. They decide to scope out the area surrounding Chairman Hartman's mansion first, then check out the rest of the resort. Tio stands speechless when they take a brief visit to the theme park entrance. Lloyd suggests that they have a little time to spare, but Tio admirably avoids giving in to the temptation to see Mishi. The SSS finally heads over to the chairman's mansion, which lies at the very end of the Mishalam residential district. After they get over their disbelief at the sheer scale of the residence, they take notice of the Revache guards who are being briefed by Garcia. He commands them not to let anyone without an invitation pass. They also need to be on guard for Yin. Finally, they mention that the final auction piece has arrived. This doll is expected to fetch an incredibly high price. The fact that Rivace knows their identities worries them, so the four recognize that they'll need to brainstorm a convincing disguise. As they're leaving, Lloyd hears a voice telling him to find her. He turns back to the mansion, while the other three wonder if he's okay. Lloyd's convinced it really must have been his imagination. Then they head back to the main lobby to discuss their plans for the night. Since the restaurant would draw too many prying ears, they attempt to get a room at the hotel, though to no avail. Though somehow, Wazzy unexpectedly appears at the perfect time and invites the SSS to his room. Even though Tio and Randy have suspicions as to why Wazzy is here in the first place, they all decide to take the gang leader up on his offer. It finally comes to light that the Testament's leader is a popular host among the ladies of Crossbell, much to the chagrin of Randy. Tio asks if he also does his host job here at Mishalam, and it turns out that Wazzy is escorting a lady to a party that's taking place here this evening. The reaction Wazzy gets from the SSS cues him in to why the four are here. He too will be attending the Schwarz Auction that night. The official invitation in their possession surprises him, so he slips them some good news that the invitations are never personalized for individual guests. The auction is always eager for new clients as long as they have an official invitation card. But it won't do for all four of them to enter the party with only one invitation. People normally only enter in pairs, so they should do that to avoid raising suspicions. Wazzy also suggests that they invest in formal attire, and this is where the boutique downstairs comes in. Ellie guarantees that she'll cover any expenses, and she, Tio, and Randy all agree that Lloyd must attend the auction. It's up to the player to choose one of the other three to accompany the detective that night. Wazzy tags along with the chosen pair to offer his fashion advice and some helpful tips to bypass the Mafia's suspicions, though Wazzy's excuses fail to get by Tio yet again. If Randy is chosen, Wazzy reassures them that it's not a big deal for two guys to enter the auction together. He suggests the cover-up story of an honest rich boy being dragged out into the nightlife by his older delinquent friend. With the girls' help, the pair finds the perfect getup for their new identities. However, Wazzy thinks the general impression Lloyd gives off hasn't changed enough still, so he hands him a pair of fashion glasses. The new look is more than suitable, so there's nothing left to do but to wait in Wazzy's room for the time of reckoning. The SSS is enjoying the nightly fireworks show at the theme park when Wazzy says he'll be going on ahead of them to meet with his client. He wishes Adios's blessings upon them and tells Lloyd and Randy to meet him there if they're able to get in without any hitches. It's finally time for the two special support section men to enter the auction venue. Ellie and Tio prepare to be on standby outside, awaiting any updates through their enigmas. Lloyd hands over the black card and gives the name Guy Bannings at the door. The two put on a convincing act thanks to Randy's lead, so they're able to get in with no problems. A hall off the right wing offers an extravagant feast for all guests to partake in. The guests in attendance range from the politically ambitious to those who just want to have a good time. One guest even voices how the police are helpless to do anything regarding the Schwarz auction, much to Lloyd and Randy's dismay. Madame Imelda from Backstreet is in attendance and recognizes them, though fortunately she has no intention on ratting them out to anyone. They are surprised to find Miss Killica also lounging on one of the couches. She claims that her reason for being here is to scope out the goods that will be sold. It's just some market research for her job. However, it doesn't escape her notice that international political connections and under-the-table information exchanges serve as the main course for most guests in attendance. The two SSS members shouldn't feel discouraged though, since the world requires balance. Corruption is not a thing that solely exists on its own. As they're about to exit the right-wing hall, a butler announces the arrival of President Marconi and Chairman Hartman. The two sing the praises of the other man and of their valued guests. They graciously welcome them all to enjoy all the auction has to offer, and despite the temptation to speak to the men directly, both Lloyd and Randy know that it'd be way too dangerous. The two duck out of the hall and head off to explore other areas. Farther back in the mansion, they come across a gorgeous indoor garden that must have cost millions of mira to build. Lecter approaches from behind and completely surprises the distracted cops. He compliments their attire, which happens to draw attention again to his utterly casual getup and the fact that he still somehow got in. He brought a fishing rod with him of all things and successfully pulls up a catch off the bridge as Lloyd and Randy reprimand him the entire time. Lecter plans to give this goldfish to Blackie, then boisterously bids the two farewell. He hopes that they too will catch something good. They find Wazzy off to the side while some quarrel is going on in the left wing hall. His client has caught her husband at the auction with another woman on his arm. Though it's an inappropriate time, this whole situation amuses him, so Wazzy sweetly asks the woman he's escorting if she'd like to ditch her husband for him, right in front of said man's face. Lloyd and Randy find this a good time to duck out. The two proceed to explore the upper floors of the mansion until they reach a room on the uppermost left wing. They're stopped by a mafia member on security, since this is where all the auction goods are being safely stored. Lloyd hears the same voice telling him to come find her, but once again deems it nothing to worry about. They finally enter the main hall where the auction will be held. The extravagance of the venue really is something else, and countless servants are preparing the hall for the main event. They find Lecter playing with Blackie the cat in one of the upper wings. In the main entrance, Garcia is shown speaking to his subordinate. He's surprised that the Heiau haven't started anything yet, and based on his intuition, there seems to be a third party that was able to sneak in somehow. The current situation excitedly heightens his former Jaeger senses, just as Lloyd and Randy mistakenly approach from the left hall. Randy quickly turns away as Lloyd speaks to Garcia. The conversation is light-hearted at first, but Lloyd raises the big man's suspicions when he introduces himself as Guy Bannings. Fortunately for the two SSS, Maria Bell arrives and draws Garcia's attention. She approaches and gives the guards her full name, Maria Bell Croy, which they recognize immediately. It's nice that she's finally accepted the invitation that they've been sending to her for a number of years now. In a private room, she lets Lloyd know that her opinion of him has improved after hearing of the circumstances regarding their visit to the auction. She expects no less of a resolve from one of Ellie's co-workers, since she loves Ellie dearly as a cherished friend. Maria Bell is head of the Mishalam development project, so she likely could only refuse Chairman Hartman's invitation for so long. But the main reason she decided to attend this year was due to a rumor of a Rosenberg doll being among the lineup of goods being auctioned. Dolls that can easily sell for 5 million mira. The ever-upstanding individual, Maria Bell claims she'll negotiate with the original owner of the doll if the object turns out to be stolen property. A voice from outside alerts them that the auction will be beginning shortly, so it's pertinent that they claim their seats. The three are led to a row in the back, then Wazzy shows up a little after. He recognizes Maria Bell as part of the IBC and introduces himself politely, then whispers to Lloyd that, from the window, he noticed some large dogs in the rear garden. Maria Bell understands that some interesting developments are cropping up, so the three guys are quietly excused. According to Wazzy's observations, Lloyd deduces that an intruder has likely appeared. They begin a round of investigations throughout the mansion. With their ever-discerning senses, both Lecter and Kilika seem to have caught on that something is up. both wish the three luck in their own unique ways. The investigation finally leads them to the room storing the goods, where something is clearly amiss since a guard is found knocked out right outside the door. Yin has infiltrated the room and unleashes his powerful S-craft on the remaining guards. Upon the guy's arrival, he realizes that the unexpected presence he felt was from the three of them. Wazi and Yin's intel allows them to immediately recognize the other, despite it being their first meeting. The Testament's leader asks if the assassin plans to eliminate them right here on the spot, but he oddly turns his back to them. He thinks it'd be more interesting if he leaves the rest to them, then drops the bombshell that there's an interesting time bomb among the exhibits in the next room. Yin then jumps straight through the third-story window and out of sight. Upon entry to the adjacent room, Lloyd hears the same voice that's been asking him to find her. They split up to sort through the goods, the detective noticing a suspicious black trunk in the back. He makes use of the lock-picking technique he learned at the Detective Academy and opens the trunk only to find a young girl sleeping inside. It's discovered that the girl's name is Kia, and strangely enough, she takes everything in stride without showing any signs of the slightest shock. She has no idea what he even means by mom or dad when he asks her about them, and she can't recall where she's from. A blaring siren suddenly interrupts their exchange and alerts them that it's time to make their escape. Two guards barge in, but Randy and Wazi take them out immediately. Lloyd tells Kia to trust them, then he scoops her up in his arms. The harrowing escape from the mansion then proceeds. The four don't make it far before they're intercepted by more Revache goons. They take them out, then continue down the flights of stairs towards the lobby, but find Garcia ordering his men to search the entire manor. They have no choice but to run towards the indoor garden, where they happen upon some war dogs. They loop back around to the lobby from the other wing and spot a frustrated President Marconi who wonders how Garcia and the others have yet to capture the intruders. Since there's still no way to escape through the front, they attempt to find another exit upstairs somehow. The three reach the chairman's room, where Wazi picks up on another presence already inside. Lecter appears from behind the screen, carefree as usual despite the ruckus in the mansion and the fact that Lloyd has a young girl in his arms. The Erebonian teases Kia and makes her laugh, but voices are soon heard down the hall. He wonders why they seem so panicked if they can still hide exactly where he was just moments before. Lecter greets the Mafia goons, then tells them that he's heard some suspicious sounds in this room. He turns to the screen and tells them to come out. Lloyd and Randy conclude that the guy planned to sell them out all along, but Wazi picks up on his plan. Just moments later, Blackie appears from under the bed and completely de-escalates the tension in the room. The redhead tells the guards that he saw some people running outside in the rear courtyard. Beyond frustrated that the intruders have escaped the mansion, the guards turn back the way they came. The four come out of the hiding spot and thank the redhead for his help, but he lightheartedly brushes it off. They return to the lobby and realize they have no better chance of escaping than now. President Marconi walks in just after Lloyd and the others defeat the remaining guards. The SSS and friends take off through the entrance while a panicked Marconi can do nothing. Ellie and Tio meet up with the four at the entrance. Thankfully, Kia still remains as calm as ever despite the dire situation. More Revache guards show up with the latest Rhineford model weaponry, but the men are suddenly taken out one by what appears to be large spinning boomerangs. Those who have played the Sky games will immediately recognize these as Kilika's chakrams in actuality. Now that they have an opening, they continue down the residential district, fighting war dogs along the way. Clearly, Revache sees no problem involving the crowds of tourists and residents who are still present at Mishalam. Lloyd and the others even find themselves having to protect civilians as they continue their escape. Unfortunately for the SSS and friends, the water bus departs early after hearing the commotion going on in the park. There's nowhere left to run, but they won't go down without a fight. They make their last stand as the killing bear himself finally shows up. Garcia doesn't appreciate how they've caused Revache to lose face, but he's ramped up with excitement to be finally able to face them. And so, the SSS are drawn into one of their toughest battles yet. They're somehow able to fend off against Garcia's attacks, an outcome that amuses said man. Randy wonders how the monster can still stand, but Garcia retorts that Randolph Orlando should speak for himself. The truth of Randy's background finally comes out. He is the son of the War God, otherwise known as the leader of the Red Constellation, a Jaeger Corps that serves as the very arch-nemesis of Zephyr. Randy voices his disgust at the title, but he obliges Garcia's request for a one-to-one fight despite everyone else's protests. Utilizing a skill only known to Jaegers, the redhead unleashes an incredible aura, with Garcia responding with his own power-up. Before everything goes to hell, a loud howl pierces through the night. Zeit suddenly appears and takes out the rest of the Mafia members, and Chief Sergei speedily approaches in a boat. Randy buys the others time to board by engaging with Garcia. Apparently, the big man is taken completely by surprise that the human girl Kia was in the trunk, since he was told it was just a doll from the Rosenberg studio. Aware of the charges that will be placed on Revache, Garcia howls in utter defeat as the entire special support section and friends escape. Back at the chairman's mansion, President Marconi futilely attempts to calm down the impatient guests. The chairman regards Revache's inability to safeguard the auction with complete disdain and exits the stage, prompting many of the auction guests to take their leave as well. Lecter and Blackie are watching the escaping SSS members. Here, Kilika finally confronts him over his liaison status between the Blood and Iron Chancellor and Chairman Hartman. He identifies her as Kilika Roran, an agent of the Rocksmith Agency from Calvard, and she correctly identifies his true position in the Empire's intelligence agency. Since both of their cards are already on the table, they agree to meet in the hotel lounge to discuss the future of Crossbell and their respective countries' parts in it. Back on the boat, Randy tells the others that he'll eventually tell them his story, if he's still welcome at the special support section. But of course, the other three won't hear any of it. The three will always see Randy as a vital and cherished member of the SSS. Lastly, Chief Sergei warns them to be prepared for whatever aftermath awaits them tomorrow, bringing the long Chapter 3 to a close. The Special Support Section relies on Yona and Police HQ's intelligence to keep track of Revache's movements and any possible retaliation. Soon a week passes before they hear even the slightest word from the Mafia. The girls are all having fun dressing Kia in different outfits while Chief Sergei, Lloyd, and Randy discuss the strange circumstances surrounding her presence at the auction. Since Yin wouldn't have had time to replace the doll with the girl, and the shipping company that delivered the object the morning of the event confirms that the item was, in fact, a doll, Revache is accusing the cops themselves of placing young Kia in the trunk. Even though the Mafia is guilty of many terrible crimes, apparently even the worst of them wish to avoid any association with human trafficking. The only reason they're not retaliating and letting them keep Kia is because they don't want this story to go public. In regards to Kia herself, they still haven't uncovered anything about her origins. As if she knew they were talking about her, she barges in to show off her new outfit. Good feelings flow all around as Kia lights up the room with her spirit and cuteness. They still owe it to her to keep searching for clues about her origins, so the current plan is to turn to the bracers for once, since they have a great network of information. A special support section member of the Player's Choice tags along with Lloyd and Kia around the entire city in the hopes that the exploration may trigger Kia's memories. First stop is the Bracer Guild, where Kia loudly asks Lloyd why Michelle, a man, talks like a woman. He takes it with grace and explains to her that, just like he has his own style of speaking, she has her own style of clothes she wears, a style that suits her very well. Kia gets it and tells him that she likes his way of speaking, quickly winning Michelle over. Estelle and Joshua come down the stairs and, to no one's surprise, Estelle is completely taken by Kia right away. Upstairs, Lloyd and Ellie inform the Bracers of what happened at the Schwarz Auction the week before. Michelle develops a better opinion of the SSS upon hearing about their sheer guts in infiltrating the event. He also plans to inquire with all the other guild branches in regards to any missing children reports. Estelle and Joshua offer to watch over Kia since the Bracer Guild's funds can be used to shelter people who are under their protection. Estelle asks if Kia would like to come live at the guild with her and Joshua, but after clarifying that Lloyd and the others wouldn't be living here with them, the young girl refuses. To those who played the Sky Trilogy, this is one of the first times that Estelle is straight up refused by a child, an outcome that both Joshua and Michelle find amusing. In regards to Kia's memory loss, Joshua suggests they visit the Crossbell Cathedral, since the Septian Church has people who specialize in matters of the mind and heart. Lloyd, Ellie, and Kia continue to explore the city before doing so though, meeting with friends and even doing sweet things for some of them, such as getting Ellie's grandfather his favorite drink since he's working so hard. They come across Maria Bell in the library. Oddly enough, she nearly instantaneously catches on that Kia must have been the doll that was supposed to be auctioned. She just put two and two together with what information she does have from the auction. The three make a trip to Trinity, where Kia reunites with Wazzy. Ellie and Lloyd warn him not to corrupt little Kia with his overly flirtatious ways, but he says he wouldn't dream of it since he doesn't want to anger her two doting parents. They find Lecter fishing right outside the Geofront B block. Kia admits that lately she doesn't really understand what's going on, but the redhead just tells her that what she's found is happiness. Though she still doesn't really understand, she believes that life with the SSS is fun, which is enough to cheer her up. A quick trip to the Hayworth's house reveals some heartwarming news that Mr. Harold has been taking the last few weeks off to spend cherished time with his family. They finally head to the Crossbell Cathedral, where, along the way, Lloyd and Ellie discover they had the same Sunday school teacher, Sister Marble. Sister Marble recognizes both of her old students and warmly welcomes the young girl. Fortunately, she is versed in the church art of thaumaturgy, though she's one of the only people in Crossbell who is trained in it. Archbishop Erolda disapproves of the church's specialized techniques, so they'll have to be careful using it here. To their disappointment, Sister Marble's thaumaturgy is only able to restore a cryptic memory of Kia's. The girl describes a huge, dark place where a light was shining down. It seems quite scary to her. Sister Marble points them towards the hospital. Perhaps there is an underlying medical condition that is causing her memory loss. A groundbreaking neurology department was just established a few years ago at St. Ursula Medical College, so they should try their luck there. Back in the city, the three come across Henry, Rue, and Momo, who are heading to Sunday school. The three kids introduce themselves to Kia before they continue along. An optional quest has Lloyd holding a surprise guest lecture during Sunday school while Kia is in attendance with the other kids. The three make it to the bus stop right in time to catch a ride to the hospital. Kia is elated to ride the bus for the first time, especially when there's a great coastal view. Cecil is just leaving the main building as the three are on their way to the reception. She finally notices Kia, then comes to the crazy conclusion that she is Lloyd's daughter who he's been hiding from her all this time. Her theory is, of course, way off since the detective is too young to have a daughter that's Kia's age in the first place. To Ellie and Lloyd's shock, Dr. Joachim is head of the neurology department. Despite his inappropriate behavior for a doctor, he is known for producing amazing results at a foreign medical institution. He now heads the neurology and pharmacology branches at St. Ursula Hospital. They find Dr. Joachim's office on the 4th floor of the building. He thanks them for the fun time during the anniversary festival, then turns to address Kia's problem. Unfortunately, the research into the cranial nerves and cells has only just begun, so no treatments to recover lost memories have been developed yet. Since there's no sign of any odd symptoms, Dr. Joachim doesn't suspect brain damage, but he wonders if this could be the result of some kind of medication. However, Kia demonstrates no signs of mental instability that's usually associated with these drugs. He can't rule out the possibility that this isn't some kind of disease without conducting a full examination of Kia, though that will take 3 days total for all the tests to finish. She seems fine with staying at the hospital at first, but when Lloyd clarifies that he won't be staying with her during this time, she absolutely refuses. Kia accuses Lloyd and Ellie of trying to get rid of her, then she shouts some choice words to the detective before dashing off. Dr. Joachim says there's no point in conducting the tests while Kia is so worked up. Exiting the main building alone, Kia wonders why everyone is so set on restoring her memories when she herself doesn't mind if she never recovers them. She notices Shizuku near the water and asks her if she's watching the fish swimming. The former responds that, though she can't see, she can hear them splashing in the water. Then Kia asks why Shizuku's eyes are always closed. After learning about Shizuku's condition, Kia says she finds them similar in some ways, since her new friend is without her sight, while she herself is without her memories. Lloyd and Ellie finally come across the two while they're having a fun conversation. Ario shows up as well, happy to see Shizuku making the rare friend that is the same age as her. He tells both Lloyd and Ellie that they must be prepared to take full responsibility of Kia to the very end now that they've involved themselves in her life. The young girls finally take notice of the three adults. Kia does perk up when Lloyd says staying in the hospital would mean she could spend more time with Shizuku, but in the end she still wishes to stay with Lloyd above all else. While it's sad to say goodbye so soon, both Kia and Shizuku look forward to the next time they can play together. The two girls say bye for now, then they go their separate ways. The scene cuts to Revace's hideout, where a furious President Marconi is berating the guards who failed to capture the auction intruders. Chairman Hartman has become continuously distant after Revace's utter failure, and the Heiue's ace assassin is still out and about. To the shock of Garcia and his men, Marconi comes to the conclusion that he has no choice but to use their trump card. The big man thinks the risk is too great to resort to that, but the president has made up his mind. They absolutely cannot lose their position as the top dogs in Crossbell's underworld. The intermission chapter ends and chapter 4 begins with a fast-forwarding of 3 weeks. Kia's past continues to remain a complete mystery, though they've all become incredibly close in the meantime, as showcased by Kia's sheer joy when they return from work. While cooking with Lloyd, it's discovered that Kia is incredibly adept at it. She's even able to make a pasta dish that would belong in a restaurant, despite having never done it before. Apparently, reading a cookbook just once was enough to teach her these masterful skills. Their lunch is interrupted when they receive an unexpected call from Sergeant Noel. They invite her to join them on their lunch break so they can go over things. A mysterious, ghostly monster has been appearing in the Moon Temple ruins as of late. Due to the CGF commander's inept decisions and negligence, he has pulled out the Bellegarde Gate forces, despite the strange phenomena. Sergeant Noel worries that the Tangram Gate will also be called back before the investigation can be completed. She and her men went to investigate yesterday, but all fled in fright when the monster appeared. It actually reminded her of their last visit to Stargaze Tower back in Chapter 2. Unfortunately for Ellie, who futilely tries to hide her fear of ghosts, the SSS accepts Noel's request. They take the side path off the Mines Mountain Road tunnel and reach the temple. The area is covered by a thick mist and gives off a creepier atmosphere compared to their last visit here to snap photos. Tio notices some strange fluctuation in the air that seems to be coming from the bell in the uppermost part of the ruins. They set reaching it as their main objective. They enter an ancient sanctuary where the sound of a bell toll, followed by eerie screams, echo through the temple. It summons frightening ghost-like monsters that resemble giant skulls set aflame. Tio confirms that the higher elements are present, so there must be some reason for the temple's transformation. Despite Ellie's terror, they continue to press forward with the investigation. In order to unlock the way to the back of these ruins, they're required to hit the switches located on both the left and right wings of the temple respectively. All along the way, they encounter a variety of eerie, ghostly monsters, many of which resemble the mobs encountered in Sky the Third. The switches lower some platforms in the back of the sanctuary. They proceed through the doorway and eventually reach a large chamber. A creepy symbol in the shape of an eye adorns the very center of the floor. Tio draws the conclusion that this place could have served as some sort of ritual chamber where people were sacrificed, as evidenced by the bloodstains splattered across the floor. The bell tolls again and summons a large demonic creature that emanates dangerous spiritual energy. They make it through alive and notice how the inner part of the eye symbol has disappeared. The final staircase leads to the uppermost tower, where an ethereal but ominous light is seen radiating from the trembling bell. Together, Lloyd, Noel, and Randy are able to forcibly stop the bell from ringing. This puts an end to the strange force field, and the dark mist dissipates from around the temple to give way to gorgeous blue skies. Tio believes that the bell could be some kind of artifact, so Sergeant Noel plans to send a report to the church for their expert opinion. They finally make it back outside, much to Ellie's relief. Though there are still many unanswered questions regarding that strange ritual chamber, there's nothing more they can do but to report in. Lloyd receives a call from Fran once they return to Noel's armored vehicle. Apparently, the Mines Village mayor has requested to meet the SSS regarding a missing villager. One of the miners, Mr. Gantz, has not returned from his most recent trip to Crossbell City. He's been known to travel to the casinos on weekends for many years now, but it has already been over 2 weeks since his last departure. Randy wonders if he's possibly just made it big gambling, but the mayor finds that possibility virtually impossible. Mr. Gantz completely lacks the intuition, skills, and luck to succeed at gambling. He always returns from his trips with empty pockets. It's unfortunately more likely that he's now on the run from creditors, though the mayor's wife believes they would have at least heard from him if that has happened. The SSS accepts the mayor's request and plans to begin their investigation at the entertainment district. They say goodbye to Sergeant Noel in the setting sun. She thanks them for all their help today and says she'll be sure to follow up with the Crossbell Cathedral. She'll also be keeping an eye out for any information the CGF may have on Mr. Gantz. The four head to the casino and ask the employees and regulars if they know anything regarding Mr. Gantz's current whereabouts. Everyone directs them to the casino manager who serves as the bartender upstairs. To everyone's disbelief, Mr. Gantz has had a complete turnaround that started about 2 weeks ago. Due to his abnormal intuition and shockingly good luck, he swept a total of 5 million mira away from the casino dealers. They are all sure that he can't be cheating, since every dealer here is a pro at observing the customer's tactics. The luxury suite on Hotel Millennium's top floor serves as his current residence. The special support section heads to the hotel and enters his room. A completely wasted Mr. Gantz still recognizes them from the first chapter and asks what they could want with him. He wonders why the mayor would make such a request, and so it's up to the SSS to lay out the obvious. The mayor and the other villagers were worried about him. Mr. Gantz's response is harsh to say the least. Since he's become a big shot in the city, he has no intention of returning to mines. When Lloyd suggests that he could at least contact the mayor to confirm his safety, he gets a beyond arrogant response from the new high roller. Mr. Gantz turns to the ladies on his arms and promises to buy whatever they want on their trip to Mishalam next weekend. The 4 cops exit the room, knowing that it's not their place to force him to return to his hometown. Lloyd finds the entire situation strange though. It just isn't feasibly possible for a man who has demonstrated a complete lack of gambling talent for years to suddenly become a celebrity at it overnight. The hostess girls make their exit, providing the perfect opportunity to question them. The two recall that Mr. Gantz wasn't arrogant at first, though his ego grew exponentially over the past couple weeks. His change in attitude can't be explained by his drunkenness, and his gambling skill really does seem to exceed a normal human's ability at this point. Mayor Bixen plans to head to the city tomorrow to speak to Gantz directly. Tio becomes quiet and says she's feeling very tired, so the 4 return to the special support section building. Kia notices that Tio doesn't seem well upon their return, so she gives her a big hug, attempting to transfer her energy to the blue-haired girl. Feeling recharged, Tio and Kia take dinner duty while the others talk to Chief Sergei and a surprise visitor in Mr. Grimwood. Several years ago, quite a few children were kidnapped in the Calvard Republic. An international investigative body was put together to bring an end to these crimes and solve the case. The crimes were so atrocious that this case remains strictly confidential to this day. Mr. Grimwood wondered if Kia was one of those affected, so he looked into the case but couldn't trace any connection between the two. While it's great that she can stay here for now, they should be prepared to turn her over to the foster care system or the church orphanages eventually, if they are truly unable to find her parents. The 4 asked lawyer Ian about Mr. Gantz's strange circumstance. Oddly enough, Mr. Grimwood has encountered 2 similar stories in recent days. Some businessmen who were deep in debt have suddenly turned a profit. The turnaround has been so great that other businessmen find it essentially impossible. Extreme arrogance has also taken over these 2 men after their newfound success. Chief Sergei asks Mr. Grimwood to look into those men for them, then the lawyer departs for the night. The scene ominously shifts to the Heiyue building where Kao and his right-hand man are discussing the odd nature of Rivache's fighting power. The Rivache underlings were able to retake 3 of their supply lines from the Heiyue, even though it should have been impossible when taking both Mafia's current combat prowess into account. Furthermore, the Killing Bear was not among any of the fighters in these recent battles. Suddenly, loud gunfire is heard from the ground floor. About 10 men from Rivache have launched a surprise raid on the building. Though small in number, the inhuman strength of the intruders have made quick work of the Heiyue's defenses on the first floor. Kao commands his men to go all out in self-defense as he himself prepares his superb fighting ability. So, who did you take to the Schwarz auction? Let me know in the comments. And next time will be the big wrap-up of Zero no Kiseki, so consider subscribing so you don't miss out. Follow me on Twitter at VirgiliaLady for progress updates on my videos as I work on them. So until next time guys, take care. See ya!